Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stoked, the ultimate Star Trek online podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Whoa, hey there, J-Man.
Hey there, Chris.
Welcome to episode 100.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Really big. We've got actually, to be honest, we're going to do 3 weeks worth of shows out of this one show.
And we still might not get it all in.
Yeah, and we've got all kinds of news about future changes in the show and new things we're going to be introducing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we're going to tell you about 101 and beyond, but we'll cover that later because we've got so much to cover in this episode. We've got news. A lot of things have come out on Trible for testing.
Yeah.
And we've also just gotten back from our trip to Cryptic.
It was epic. I mean, we were there for probably about 9 hours on site at Cryptic HQ. And I'll be honest, our cameras were probably on 75% of the time. So that's why, we might not be able to fit it all into our shows, and we're going to have to spread all that content out for several weeks.
We're going to have to spread it out, but I think you're going to see a few exclusive things that you may not have seen yet, plus an interview with Stephen D'Angelo, the new temporary executive
We're going to
producer.
make sure and get that in today's episode.
Yeah. Before we get to all that, why don't we talk about some of the new stuff that hit Trible this week?
Sure. I mean, probably everybody was excited to see the DOF system. This is one of the number one things, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
When Trible came up, I was like, gotta try it. I was a little disappointed to find out you couldn't get it until level 12.
Yeah.
But so I'm grinding up. I think
But
I'm
there's
like 8
also,
or 9 now.
on test right now, there's some perks in place to get you to level up faster.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a few incentives in place, including some promises of some epic loot.
Yeah, it used to be that if you go on the test server and play, you'd get usually a free Trible.
On occasion.
Yeah,
for a
well,
special
this one,
occasion.
the test server is actually going to be up for quite some time, several weeks, while they roll out all the free-to-play functionality and like the new mission journal and event system and all that stuff and try to get the bugs worked out. So the incentives this time around are much more long game based.
Yeah, and they're going to help you out with your holodeck character with things like maybe a little bit of dilithium.
Yep.
And,
if you get to level 11, you'll get an XP boost on holodeck. If you get to level 31 on Trible, then you'll get a reasonably large chunk of dilithium.
I love the chat room. So we're streaming live right now, and the chat room is like just loving the DOF system. Lord, it's like they have Deltan officers, and there's actually use for them. Once you get into the DOF system, you'll find out that those Deltans have a specific trait that can be useful.
Yeah.
Or
not so useful.
True. We've actually got a great walkthrough of the DOF system that we'll be releasing at some point. And if you haven't gotten your hands on it yet.
Hosted by Heretic.
Yeah, the guy behind the DOF system. What else do you think we should talk about? DS9 saw some revamps on Trible, and it looks good. In fact, our background is from DS9 today.
Yeah, from the updated ops. In fact, if you turn this camera the opposite direction, you can actually go and see Cisco's office.
Yep, we're sitting right up in front of Cisco's office right now. What else, J-Man? Oh, the new tutorial's on there. If you haven't gotten to play, if you haven't rolled a new character, right now on the Trible test system, you can't transfer your existing character.
Right.
So keep that in mind. You're going to have to roll a new one. But it's a good opportunity to check out the new revamped tutorial.
Which is actually specifically why they did that. They want people to check out the new tutorial, the new introduction to the game and everything to make sure that it's good for the free-to-play players that are going to come and try out the game soon.
There's also a few surprise little things that made their way in.
I guess some of these are in the patch notes, but let's be honest, who reads those things, right? That's why you watch Stoked.
we read those things, yeah. Including, if you've been following along, there's the new event system they're testing, which has some new mirror events that you can join.
There's a mirror universe incursion, and if you are successful in the first few waves of this event, apparently you get to fight the mirror universe flagship, which just happens to be an Odyssey-class cruiser, also known as the Enterprise F.
It's not the Enterprise F, but it's the same make, only with the little few mirror universe cosmetic changes on it.
Purple neon lights and stuff like that.
I guess there's some new voiceovers, too?
Yeah, the Guardian of Forever apparently has a new voiceover. If it's not on Trible already, we've heard that it'll be coming soon. But
you can also get
we've given him a hard time for that voiceover in the past.
Yeah, it did need to kind of be revamped a little bit.
It
did. We now have personal experience with that process.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll hear more about that later. How can I help you? How can I help you?
Jem'Hadar, boarding the station! Get the delegates out of here!
There also was just kind of like a show-off thing. Like you can't get your hands on it right yet, but the STF armor is being displayed at Earth Space Dock.
Yeah, there's Admiral Devok and his whole posse there is at Earth Space Dock, and you can check out at least the Fed version and the neutral version of those Special Task Force armors.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's probably a handful of the most popular stuff, right?
Yep.
Now we also have a little bit of show news for the show. It's not always just about Stowe. We're going to give you a little bit about ourselves, an update, because this is episode 100. And we do have to make
a turning point.
It's a perfect time to make some show changes, sort of liven things up, but we also have some big live changes to announce.
I actually have one big announcement that I'd like to make to the live audience, to our recorded audience, to everybody, and it's kind of a two-part announcement. There's some good news, there's some bad news. I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the bad news and then circle back on this. So the bad news is this is my last episode of Stoked. This whole series of episode 100 is going to be the last time that I'm appearing on this show. Now, the reasons for this are actually the good news. The good news is that I have accepted a position as an associate systems designer at Cryptic Studios, working on Star Trek Online.
J-Man's becoming a dev.
I'm going to be a dev.
Belly clap for the J-Man. Oh, man, I'm showing my shorts. Actually, yeah, and so that means, of course, if he's working for Cryptic, he can't really be on the show. One, we wouldn't allow it for conflict of interest reasons.
Right, exactly.
Also, Cryptic has the same policy.
Yeah.
So, but it's all mutual. It's all fun. And, of course, just like we have conversations with lots of devs. Boy, look at the poor chat room going crazy. Just like we have conversations with lots of the devs frequently, I'm sure we'll be talking to the J-Man.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best to still stay involved with the show and help me, especially with the transition process. Now, let's talk a little bit about the transition process.
Well, so, we thought, what do we want to do with Stoked? Because we've been a two-man team now for the majority of the show. And
practically 100 episodes.
Where do you take it now, right? And so the road trip was actually the perfect opportunity to kind of figure this stuff out. And, one of the things that we walked away from that visit to Cryptic with is we easily have another 100 episodes worth of content coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not the time to end the shows. It's the time to expand the show, make the show bigger and better and do more things.
Especially with the whole, the free-to-play launch is going to see a whole new swath of community joining.
Huge. They're expecting huge numbers, and I believe it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, just from our own feedback that we get from audience members, a lot of you out there are watching Stoked, waiting for it to go free-to-play, and then you're going to jump on. We've heard from probably nearly 1,000 of you out there. So we know you're out there, and we know you're all excited. The show's got some awesome things coming down the pipe. One of the things we're most proud of on Stoked, and we don't actually talk about it a lot, we do mention it, but it's Jupiter Force.
Yeah.
It's a 400-person team strong, and we have radicalized the Jupiter Force, and they're going to become the production core for Stoked.
Yeah. Doing
new segments and topics and things like that.
And to a certain extent, some of them are going to be taking my place as a co-host.
Yeah, we'll introduce some roundtable segments with people that will go through a selection process and be vetted. And people who are experts in the game that really know the stuff, people who have game industry backgrounds and all kinds of things will be coming on the show. Join us at Roundtable, along with devs like Jeremy and other people from Cryptic. And we're also going to open the door to other podcasters who might want to join us and chat on the show from time to time. So we'll be introducing some new segments there. And with the production power of a 400-strong person team who it's surprising, but the fleet structure can actually lend itself very well to a sophisticated production for a podcast.
This isn't something that's just they're going into it cold. You guys have already seen the Foundry Files, which was kind of a pilot program for this whole sort of thing.
It helped us sort of build an initial back-end production chain that you need for a weekly show.
Right.
And now we're going to be able to expand that and really sort of highlight some of the best stuff.
But it's been simpler than that. Every single week when we go to try to gather the latest news stories and tidbits and dev posts and everything like that, Jupiter Force is our number one stop. These guys are already so into it that... they're an absolutely great asset.
It also means just by that, you're going to hear a bunch of different topics and different opinions.
Yeah.
Sometimes people who don't necessarily agree with us will now be featured on the show and have a chance to get their voice heard.
Yep.
This, by its very nature, will have a lot more community input, and this is the perfect time for it, too. And there actually will be a path that we will eventually lay out where if you're just a fan of the show and you think you have something to contribute, something you want to say about Star Trek Online and you want to get your voice on the show, there's going to be a path that you'll be able to go through the correct processes and eventually become a panel member.
It's basically going to take Stoked to the community. We've always tried to be a voice for the community with our community feedback segments and everything, but this is basically going to be hands-on. You guys are going to take a driver position.
Now, it is a big change.
Yes.
We recognize that.
Yes.
It'll probably be some changes in the show, and we'll be working out a bit. So what we're going to do is take a lot of the content we got from Cryptic, and like we mentioned at the top of the show, release it for about the next 3 weeks. On the back end, we'll be spending that time retooling the show, rehearsing, practicing, and really making it a well-oiled machine. That way it can be as smooth as possible once we do relaunch.
Yep.
And I think you can probably expect to see episode 101 on November 1st.
That sounds likely.
So over the next few weeks, you'll get a lot of exclusive stuff from Cryptic, and then we'll have a new awesome, well-oiled machine for you with a whole new format and all new segments, but tons of good stuff. And really, I think you're going to be excited with all of the content that's coming down the road. Being able to expand our coverage on that is going to be key.
I think you'll also be excited to hear more voices from the community because I'll be honest, we're total fanboys of this game, and sometimes we don't give the devs as hard of a time as some of you want us to. Well, if we get more community voices on the game, I think you'll be hearing more and more.
I'm making sure we're specifically lining up people who will have disagreeing opinions. Now, we're not going to have fights, but we're going to have intelligent conversations about this stuff.
Yeah.
And of course,
roundtable discussions is, I think, what we're aiming for.
And we're going to take the segments we do now and we're going to expand them even further. So it's going to be, I think you guys are going to really like it, but stick in there. Let us know. We'll be monitoring the feedback. I'm thinking about launching a weekly podcast on Jupiter Broadcasting. This is sort of a network update to let people know where we're at with different projects. And so stay tuned. Maybe follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/ChrisLES for the official announcement of that. And the other thing you can always kind of stay tuned in to know when more stuff's coming up is jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar, where you'll see future releases. And I'll try to be vigilant about keeping that up to date to keep everyone in the loop. All right, J-Man, what do you say we roll our first interview with Stephen D'Angelo? All right, we're here with Stephen D'Angelo, the new temporary executive producer, the
emergency executive producer hologram.
Right, and he's joined us, and we wanted to chat with him because, of course, a lot of the things that are going on are probably now on your radar that were previously on Dan Stahl's radar.
Exactly. We understand you've been spending most of the day cleaning up the office to make it habitable again.
So you're actually not a newcomer to STO.
That is correct.
Maybe you want to give people the background on that.
Certainly. I joined the Star Trek team when they moved out of pre-production into production, and was the software lead on the team. So during the entire production cycle, I was the one who helped put together all the software that you saw on the shipped game, and worked.
That's like the behind-the-scenes coding stuff, basically.
Exactly. We designed the whole new contact system, everything you see with the story flow. That was all new stuff that we had to put together for Star Trek. All the ship combat, getting that all to work right. Whole new UI models.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of new technology that went into making Star Trek, and a whole lot more behind the scenes that...
That was really the mad rush times, wasn't it? Where things were really probably under a massive deadline, I would think.
We were under a very massive deadline to deliver the game. We had acquired the license from Perpetual, and Perpetual's license had an expiration date on it, and we had to ship the game before the expiration date.
Wow.
Otherwise, CBS could have started
or
basically
we lose
shopping
the
out.
license.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that put a lot of pressure on the team to deliver. And so we did.
Yeah, you did.
It's a pretty incredible project to have come together really the way it did. I think it's a testament both to the team and to the fact that we had a good engine to start with.
Yeah. Hey, I've heard somewhere on the forums that you were actually instrumental in getting the Foundry pushed forward as a part of, as something that the players could actually get their hands on.
That is correct. The Foundry is something that actually I started working on before I got on the Star Trek project. So 2 years plus back. We started putting together the technology necessary to do user-generated content in the game. And we built a whole bunch of technology that didn't have the cycles to finish it out. As soon as we got Star Trek done, and I moved off Star Trek to take over the Chief Technology Officer position, took a look around to see what we needed to do to really push Cryptic forward. You have to ship and maintain games, but you also need to be looking at what's the next big thing to deliver. And we felt that user-generated content was going to be a key component going forward.
It seems like it really could be one of STO's most competitive angles.
Well, and Cryptic in general.
Yeah. But do you see, some people feel now, and I think I'm one of them, where it seems like the Foundry sort of takes a backseat to the rest of the house's production just because of whatever the process is to get new assets in there.
I think specifically from the STO audience's point of perspective, too, we've heard things like the entire Foundry team's now working on Neverwinter. So the people working on STO, playing STO rather, making missions kind of feel neglected in a way. I mean, is that something that's going to get better in the future, or can we kind of expect the continuing operations to be focused forward?
It is, one of the downsides of actually developing the Foundry outside of the Star Trek team, which is what I did, because Star Trek team was busy delivering the first featured episodes at the time when we were building this technology. And they were very focused on how to get that working right for the customers. We pulled the Foundry outside and ran it as a separate project. And when we put it back into the Star Trek technology, we didn't hand it off well enough. It was actually a fault on people's side of handing off the pieces, handing off the technology, and really getting it baked into the team. And it did go off with a rocky start as a side effect of that. And we've been working to remedy that. We now have a programmer who's now full-time on Star Trek who will be taking over all the Foundry stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's good news.
And that is one of the things that's taken us a little while to make happen. And part of that was due to the Neverwinter project, which did draw the Foundry engineers away sooner.
So this person will sort of be responsible for reintegrating changes back to STO, or
to reintegrate changes back, and then to drive it forward to make STO specific Foundry advancements, because Neverwinter is heading in its own direction, and we really want to make sure that Foundry for Star Trek continues going forward where it needs to for Star Trek.
Right.
More Star Trek.
And it's just a skinned Neverwinter tool.
Well, no, this is a Star Trek tool. Now they've got a skinned Star Trek tool in it.
Right.
Yeah. But they're building out some more cool stuff for Neverwinter, but a lot of it doesn't just port back. Because it's how to build Neverwinter stories, which are not built the way Star Trek stories are.
Right. Yeah. They don't take place in space.
They don't take place in space. They don't have, people who hail you.
Right.
So their entire way you interact with is different.
Right.
So it's a lot of different technology.
So do you find yourself now, so you were kind of here back when the big push to 1.0 launch was, and now you're back again in the hot seat when they're doing honestly, coming around, it seems like you guys it was funny. Last time we heard Cryptic, it was right before launch. And now we're here again right before free to play, and here you're back again in this. It's got to be what is another crazy period of time. It's like you seem to be going back into the position when it's always under fire. Is that why you think it's temporary and you're just kind of here until you get through these big hurdles? Or do you kind of think you're just going to kind of stick to it and just see where it goes and then...
It's a good question. I'm actually very happy in my role as CTO and driving technology at Cryptic.
Sure.
And it should be noted that you're maintaining those responsibilities.
I am maintaining those duties at the moment.
Yeah.
So at the moment I'm doing double duty, and that probably can't stay.
Yeah.
So eventually there will be an EP.
Eventually there'll be an EP who we hire to take over Star Trek, and I will relinquish that role.
And go back to full-time CTO.
Go back to full-time CTO. And then I'll be advising all of the EPs, like I had been doing for the past year and a half, on how to get their technology built, how to get the programmers doing things, and a lot of shifting tasks between the teams. Sometimes Star Trek needs a lot more horsepower than Champions, and we pull the Champions programmers down and have them do the work. And that's a lot of the stuff that I would do for the team in the CTO role.
Do you think you'll be looking outside the company or inside the company?
For the new EP?
Yeah.
We're going to do a broad search.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to find the right person for the job, someone who loves Star Trek and someone who's ready to...
Yeah. All right. You take apps online for that one? Well, cool. Okay. I mean, I think for now, right, you're probably going to be here for at least until the free-to-play transition's over?
Correct. No matter what, I'm here to get free-to-play out the door. My expectations is probably more like a 6-month time frame before we find the right person and get them in.
Okay.
Realistically, that's what it takes to find people, interview them.
And it's not exactly an intern position you can just throw to someone you think might fit.
That is correct. Yeah. Finding a person who would love Star Trek and loves the game industry and can lead a team forward and keep that creative vision as well as the structure necessary to deliver things on time is a challenge.
So you have people that work on art, you have people that work on every aspect of the game. What does an EP work on? Does he just sort of go between all the teams and sort of say, yeah, I like that, I don't like that, yeah, let's get these people together? What's that kind of responsibility?
I can go into management theory here, but one of the big differences between the kind of role at an EP level and people who manage teams and leads and people who execute is really that difference that when you're executing as an individual contributor, your job is to get a certain piece of thing done. I need to make this starship because we're going to be releasing it to the players.
Right.
Or, I'm the art lead for this. I need to make sure that my art guys have a consistent art design, that they're delivering all the things that's on their schedule and so forth. But somebody has to not just be making sure things get done, but that we're doing the right things.
Like a prioritization?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you get up to a level where the EP sits, your job is not just to be looking down at are we executing, but also to be looking out, are we doing the right things? Do we have a roadmap that's far enough out? Do I have the right people on my team? Am I staffing up to handle the kinds of loads that I'm going to need 6 months from now?
And does each individual team have the resources and schedule necessary to
accomplish what
deliver on what the other teams need as well?
Exactly. So the EP is more of a business role in that sense, but they're also the person who really has to drive everything else and give that clear vision to the team so they know what to go execute on.
Okay.
Are you doing the engineering reports now, all that kind of thing?
So I'm actually planning to have Stephen Ricosa, who is our assistant producer, take over the engineering reports.
Okay.
You'll probably see a bunch of me, not anywhere near as much as Dan. I think Dan really... he's a much more outgoing person than I am. I'm more of an engineer at heart, and so I'm going to be a little bit more quieter, more factual. But I certainly hope, especially through this whole free-to-play process, that people will be hearing something from me several times a week, formally, not just informally on the forums as well, where I hope to make a presence.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So do you think there's sort of plans that have been laid down now that are just being, the plan is now to execute on those, or do you think there will be changes to the roadmap that you're going to make that maybe previously under Stahl's direction weren't going to be there, or something like that?
We've already made some adjustments to the plan, but Dan put together a great plan. So the adjustments, when I say that, are mostly about minor tuning, tweaking, adjusting for the people we have on the team. So Dan's plan is a good one, and we're pretty much rolling to that. I think every person who sits in the seat takes their own spin on it. And my spin is, this is my chance to relaunch Star Trek, to really make it the game.
It kind of feels like that.
To really make it the game we wanted it to be. At launch, we had that time constraint. It had to ship on that day. We didn't have a choice. And some people have commented the game didn't look 100% done, and well, it wasn't quite. Most games aren't 100% done when they ship these days, sadly. Yes. But Dan has followed through and he's delivered on so much more of the game. But now's our chance to go back and look at it closely again and kind of say, what did we do right? What did we not do right? I have people scouring the forums. We're trying to find what it is that actually bugs people, what it is that we can do that actually just smooths the game out. I have people paying attention to, we're going to actually, through the beta process, which will be launching shortly, for free-to-play, we're going to be trying to get a lot of focus on the different elements of the game and what it is we can do to make it better for you all.
And you're talking more like overarching concepts rather than like the granulars of does this power work correctly, but it's more like
a little
consistency
bit of
issues.
A lot of we want to get very specific. Like, for example, I know one thing that bugs me is that it seems like my camera resets sometimes on map transfers.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't have a bug like that around. We should be fixing those kinds of things. And there's a bunch of granular items like that that really we should just be fixing. And under the hard development schedule, we have to deliver more features, more features, more features. It was hard to do. So turning around and saying, okay, guys, we're going to block out time and we're going to fix as many of these things that are just annoyances as we can and clean it up. So portion of time is being set for that. Another portion of time is to sit back and kind of look at what we're doing with other portions of the game. One of the things you will see in the free-to-play launch is a relook at how the entire economy of the game works.
Right.
And
we just actually got done talking to Jesse Heinig about many of the revamps.
Yes. So you'll be seeing that coming out later this week on the beta shard on Trible.
Okay.
And you'll see pieces of that, and we're going to be revamping that and tuning that throughout the beta process, trying to find the right way to make it work. But we have built a whole bunch of new technology to monitor and manage the economy.
That's one of the things that's interesting, right? As you go forward, you get stats, don't you?
Yeah, make what you get in the game worth something. I've noticed quite a few people don't actually view energy credits as having much value in the game.
Yeah.
Because you can earn more of them than you actually need.
Yeah, that's true.
And we didn't actually provide the right things for you to spend them on. So looking at what are we providing for, what are we giving you, and what are we providing you for you to spend it on, and making you be able to see the value of your time. Is all part of that view of the economy.
I think I just really have one more question because I think we have to wrap up soon. But I guess in terms of staffing up, can you talk at all about how the STO team is going to be growing in order to address I'm sure what was going to be the demands of free-to-play content production and things like that? Are you guys staffing up more now? Are you bringing in more people? What's going on there?
We're going to be significantly staffing the team up going forward.
Okay.
We actually we were able to walk around earlier, and there was at least two people that were like, yeah, this is the new guy.
Yeah.
They got their names wrong and everything. It was awesome.
Yes, we've got several new people already on the team, and we're hiring rapidly right now to try and grow the team further. Perfect World is a wonderful change for Cryptic, and they believe in funding the game at a much higher level than Atari did. And that was one of the limitations we had, was Atari felt the game deserved X amount of money per year for its budget. And Perfect World believes that Cryptic and Star Trek can go a lot farther.
That's awesome.
And they're willing to fund the game to deliver that. And so we're hiring up to hit those expectations. And I'm really looking forward to what you guys see in 2012.
Yeah.
So are we.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Happy to do so.
So what I've got here, the costume is still the standard Saber. So I don't know what the costume doesn't seem to be working right now. This one this is a refit of the Saber, so that it would be an escort refit. Gladius class is what this will be. The special ability on this one, we're going to start small. This has got something from Voyager, where B'Elanna Torres used what did she use? Impulse capacitance, some other nonsense. There's some description there what episode it's from. But basically, what it is an in combat, basically full impulse. It's an impulse burst.
Oh, okay.
So it's afterburners.
Ooh.
Okay, so you can think of it that way. It's minimal turn rate, but it's really fast. So from 2K, I can get.
Wow, yeah, you can really move, can't you?
You can get out. You can just get out of combat. It is a completely get out of combat.
It's an OS button.
Yeah.
That's what that is. OS.
Yeah.
And this is, again, just like everything else, a console that will be able to...
This is a console that it's called this one's called the Impulse Capacitance Cell, which is right out of one of the Voyager episodes. Plus one Akira, which I think that's
a new ship scan. I don't think I've seen that.
Did Adam not show you this one?
No.
This is, I forgot the name of this ship. It's called the... my spreadsheets are just out of control. This is the Thunderchild, which was an Akira ship from.
I really like that.
So this is a really beautiful ship that was put together, and this one comes with a point defense system. That should be this. Yeah, we have no icons for it. So the point defense system is made to destroy. It work on anyone, but it's made to destroy fighters. So it would be like an anti-carrier weapon.
Awesome.
And you activate it, and
Let's clean this mess up.
It's just phasers everywhere.
it's just
So it's like a fire at will on steroids.
it's a fire at will, like as though it was on a turret, and it does 10 times normal damage to to fighters and 3 times normal damage to, say, like frigates. So,
Wow.
So that's going to be basically a bane of carriers, I think, because it works on regular ships too. It's got a shorter range. It's only got half range, so instead of it's not full range of 10K. It's only 5K PBAOE, and it lasts for I think how long does it last for? It lasts for 10 seconds, and you can turn it off earlier. This is the new Defiant.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the first time I think I've seen it in action. I've seen the stills.
This is the new Defiant. This should be.
Oh, there's the back. There's the back. See, yeah, okay. He was saying he'd made some back changes, but he didn't have a. Yeah, okay.
So, not quite sure.
I think it's up top. The back detail up top a little bit. I see more of the curvature he was mentioning too.
Yes, it curves forward. I'm gonna go ahead.
I really like that. Boy, with that and the new Defiant, interior, I'm going to be really compelled to want to be flying around a Defiant. That's going to be fun. Wait for it.
So this new Defiant, which is the Sao Paulo class. Sao Paulo, which if you remember, the Sao Paulo was actually the original name of the Defiant.
Right.
Of the second Defiant, and then he said, "I'm going to rename it to the Defiant again."
Yes.
So this is the Sao Paulo class, and the Sao Paulo class comes with quad cannons.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Instead of the regular, this is like old school.
Yep.
Old school dual cannons. So it comes with the quad cannons. And these quad cannons are actually they are levelless, and they are the highest damage cannons in the game. So they're
awesome.
And I think if I've got rapid fire here, leave me alone.
I want that ability.
I know.
So this should be, I think this should work. That would be at rapid fire.
Yeah.
And quad cannons with rapid fire. And there's a scatter volley in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels really gratifying. That's the old cannon versus this here.
Yeah.
To be
But
more
they are specifically phaser weaponry, though,
yeah.
right?
To be more specific, they basically have they are purple, and they come with. Well, it's not written here, unfortunately. They have 3 damage enhancements, which no weapon in the game has 3 damage enhancements.
And also, unlike most other of these ships have consoles, this one actually comes with a weapon.
This one comes with a weapon. Some will come with weapons. Some will come with consoles. We were gonna do shields and engines, but we decided not to because we didn't want to step on sets. Right. So, and we did it with consoles, because that way you can always, there's always room for another weapon or a console and smooth things around. If you do it with a shield engine or a deflector, then it's like, well,
one or nothing.
Yeah, it's a one or nothing. This is the new.
Oh, I can see it in motion. Look at that.
You get to see it. This is
We asked Logan when he showed us this, the pictures of this, what tier it was, but he didn't know.
Yes, this is a tier 2. So it is a +1 Connie refit, and.
I'm just about there where I'm going to need this, so I need you guys to get this in the game right away.
And so here is a regular dummy, and there is a cloaked dummy. Okay, so that ship is cloaked, and if I have it loaded up properly, so.
Oh yeah.
So this actually how this actually works, if I've got it set up right, do I have it here? So this comes with an ionized gas sensors, and I love what I've gotten here. I've got the whole thing about the damn thing has got to have a tailpipe, and that's basically what this is.
Yeah.
So the console mod is actually an ionized gas console mod, which in itself, by itself, grants sensor stats. So the console has a passive grant sensor stats.
Cool.
Okay. But it also comes with a. It works like a bridge off, like fire. It works like a fire at will or a high yield. So you activate it, and it changes any torpedo.
So it's just your next shot.
In your next torpedo shot into an emission-seeking torpedo.
I love that. So it could be my aft torpedo. It could be my forward torpedo.
And it could be a tricobal device.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can. So you load it up, and now
fire torpedoes.
This will be Jesse's awesome script. It works just like the show, and we're gonna cross our fingers that it still works. That it's seeking.
Yeah.
Right. So notice it didn't go after this target.
Yeah. So it yeah.
And it found the cloak, and it decloaks them, and then you can target that explosion and fire.
Yes. Yes. Target that explosion and fire.
Okay. So that is that one.
So it also has a preference to go after the cloak ship.
It will preference to go after the cloak ship. If you don't have a cloak ship, then your target. If not, then it will go after another target. So that.
So even if you have a target already selected, it'll still go after the cloak ship.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it also, while in that mode, so because I don't want it to just be a value just for cloak ship, so you've got the console itself gives you the sensors bonus.
Yeah.
And it also comes with that torpedo, since it's going after the impulse engines, the impulse trail. It is doing a engines offline. So it basically comes with subsystem targeting on the torpedo for engine subsystem targeting. So that is that.
So here we are, we're with Jay Heinig, and he's going to show us some of the new changes to the economy system as part of going free to play, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay, so what do you got for us?
All right, so part of our goal is to make the economy now a transition to a very painless format where you don't have 8 billion different kinds of currency to keep track of.
Thank you.
Now, there's a lot of people arguing back and forth about, oh, well, they don't have money in Star Trek, and clearly the Federation is socialist or communist or libertarian.
Right.
Well, it's a post-scarcity economy, which means it doesn't really follow normal economic rules. But since we're a game, we do have numbers to keep track of your chits that tell how much Hasperat you can buy.
Right.
So our goal right now is to compress our currency, all the badges, marks, and emblems and everything.
Including merit and honor.
All of that is going to go away. This is going to get compressed down, and you're just going to have 3 different kinds of currency that you're going to want to track. The ubiquitous energy credits, gold pressed latinum, of course, and dilithium. And there's been people talking back and forth about whether dilithium is an appropriate currency or whatnot.
I like it.
While dilithium can be re-energized, as we saw at the end of Star Trek 4, that presumes that you have the existing dilithium that you need for that warp core anyway.
And that you have a re-energizing chamber.
Right, considering that the Federation is floating somewhere upwards of, I don't know, 50,000 starships based on the registry numbers alone.
Yeah.
They probably need a lot of dilithium.
Yeah.
So we decided that it's a non-ubiquitous item. It's not something easily replicated, and so that's a good representation of a currency that is fairly rare and has some sort of trading value that transcends the boundaries of just being for Starfleet or the Klingons or what have you.
Right, yeah, that's the other thing I like about it, is cross-race.
And our goal is to make it very easy for people to track their 3 different kinds of currency, each of which is used for different things, and to make it so that there's a seamless transition where we take all of those old marks and emblems and everything, and we're going to cash them out and give you dilithium for that. So all of that time that you put in getting those things is not wasted. And better still, since dilithium is a level-less currency, if you're sitting on 300,000 marks of exploration 1, you will get some value out of those now, and you will actually be able to buy things that are useful for your rear admiral or vice admiral.
Right.
So,
now, do you have any idea, I'm sorry if this derails too much, but of the actual transfer rates that are going to be going live?
Well,
for example, we've actually, somebody wrote us in and said, I have 1,000 marks, or emblems, 1,000 emblems. What am I going to get in dilithium from that?
Well, all of the numbers are still in some degree of flux, and we're trying to nail down exactly where we want those numbers to go.
Is there at least a range that we can get an idea?
The probable range is that dilithium is going to be a much more granular currency than emblems, where you're going to see, instead of having 1 emblem or 100 emblems, you might see 100 dilithium or 10,000 dilithium. And this is so that we can do things like have duty officer assignments award you a small amount of dilithium. Congratulations, you got a critical success on this, have 100 dilithium.
Right. And so that getting what used to give you a mark of exploration rank 1 might give you 10 dilithium or something like that. Whereas so rank 5 might give you more.
Yeah, so instead of getting 75 marks of exploration 1 or badges of exploration 1, you might get 500 dilithium for that. Now again, since dilithium is a level-less currency, it doesn't necessarily matter what the level of those marks or badges was. The presumption is that you put in time playing those missions, and as a result, we're going to reward you for playing the game. Congratulations, you played the game, you did some exploration, you did some PvP.
With a reward that you don't have to use right now.
Right, and you can save that dilithium if you want, and you can use it to buy equipment at endgame, you can use it to buy new ships, or you can even trade it with other players for C points, which is one of our new big economy features. So everyone knows what you can do with energy credits, and gold pressed latinum is pretty well understood as the novelty currency, so dilithium is obviously the big hammer here. So you're looking at about 2 orders of magnitude up from emblems in terms of dilithium. So that's about where your conversion rate is going to be. Essentially, we're looking at it as how much time did you put into the game, and we're going to reward you for that. So if you spend 45 minutes doing exploration clusters and you complete 3 star cluster missions, then the amount of dilithium you get out of that should be equal to the amount that we would give you for doing those post free-to-play launch, whatever that number winds up being. So if it's 75 of those badges of exploration turns into 500 dilithium, that would be what we would expect you to do for 15 or 45 minutes.
And that's why this originally was being referred to as a time-based currency.
That's right. The notion is that we're not necessarily binding this to what level you are. Lieutenants can earn dilithium just as well as rear admirals can. It's our way of saying you've put your time into the game, and so you're going to get some cool stuff out of it. And since there are now going to be stores that will sell all kinds of blue and sometimes even purple gear for dilithium, you will be able to choose to kit out your characters appropriately instead of having to necessarily grind marks of exploration, or
which I've had to do that,
or PvP tokens, and them having different stores. Since everything uses the same currency, you go to the same stores for your gear. Now we may have some little hidden ways for people to get specific bonuses for doing lots of exploration or lots of PvP. But in general, you will choose the way that you want to earn dilithium. Do you like doing star clusters? Go and do a bunch of star clusters and earn your dilithium for the day. Do you like PvP? Play a bunch of PvP matches and earn your dilithium that way. Or get it from STFs or fleet actions or dailies.
And you won't be penalized for doing that and being ill-equipped for other forms of combat. Like now you can potentially get STF gear that's good for STFs by PvP.
Absolutely. So being able to gear yourself up will be something that you can do by playing the way that you want to play the game. Put in a couple of minutes, a couple of hours each day, get your dilithium out, and then cash that out for the gear that you want, whether it's ground or space or your next new ship or what have you. To talk about that as well, one of the things that we're moving to is that your ships, when you rank up, are no longer going to be sold for energy credits. Those are going to be sold for dilithium as well. But every time you rank up, we give you a large stipend of dilithium. Congratulations, you made Lieutenant Commander. Here's a huge bunch of dilithium. If you've already been grinding dilithium by doing daily missions or exploration or whatnot, great, you can take this and spend it on other gear, save it, sell it on the exchange for someone else's sea points, and then buy something cool from the sea store for yourself.
Including possibly a better ship.
Yeah, you could get one of the +1 ships, for instance, that we've been selling for sea points. But if you have not been doing dailies or exploration or PvP, you've just been doing the story missions in order to level up, well, we're going to give you a big stipend of dilithium, and you can still go ahead and buy a basic ship with that, and then go and continue running missions and get equipment from those, or get drops, or buy things for energy credits on the auction house. That's not going away. You can still use the exchange to sell gear.
Is it going to be possible to use dilithium on the exchange if you feel like going that route?
Not at this time. We've discussed that notion, but it's one of the issues with dilithium is that because it's a very special currency for saying you've put in this amount of time, if we allow you to sell things and then get dilithium for that, then we're letting some players say, well, I'm not going to put in time necessarily, but I'm going to take a rare item that I got as a drop or that I bought for energy credits and turn around and sell it for dilithium. So that can cause some oddities in terms of what the time value of the currency is.
Okay.
So the way that it's going to actually work in the game that you'll start seeing probably when we get the beta server up is that all of these different daily tasks will reward you unrefined dilithium ore. And then you will process or refine that dilithium. And it's probably going to be as simple as having a button on your UI and possibly a station in your ship that's refine or what have you. And you can process that into refined dilithium. Now there's a limit to how much you can refine in a given day, but you can earn as much as you like.
Oh, okay.
So that lets us sort of control how much dilithium is going into the economy.
That's smart.
It lets us avoid things like runaway currency inflation like we have with energy credits.
Or excessive farming or anything.
Right, but it does mean that if you, say, only play extensively on weekends because you have a regular job, you can play for 4-8 hours on Saturday and Sunday, store up a bunch of dilithium ore, and then just log in for 30 seconds on Monday and convert some of that out and cash out
Use your daily
ore over the next of the week.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
So it smooths out your earning as well.
Plus, when somebody jumps in to do that, maybe they'll pick up a daily while they're in.
You never know.
Yeah.
It could only, it's
At the
only
very
15
least,
minutes.
maybe they'll say hi to their fleet mates.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, that would be nice. Wave at the PvPers.
Just cash into my dilithium.
Right.
Cool.
And then one of the things that we've discussed going forward is that there may be certain special events that will be open for short windows of opportunity, or ones that are difficult to get into. Like
we saw a little bit of
STS.
the event system.
Well, since those are going to require you to sort of be on your toes in order to take advantage of them, this event's only open for an hour, or an elite STF, you have to have a team of 5 people that's all geared and knows what they're doing.
Right.
Those will give you a larger dilithium reward.
Okay.
We may even have special cases where, for instance, we could have a dilithium cracking station in a map that is only open after a particular event has happened and the players have beaten the space amoeba or what have you, and if you bring your dilithium there to refine it, you get a better return.
You can exceed your daily,
because they're doing
what have
that's
you.
cool.
Right. So we will have our whole goal is to make it so that you get rewarded for playing. The more you play, the more you get rewarded, and sometimes we will give you additional bonuses to those rewards as well. We never want to penalize you for putting in your time or for going out of your way in order to do something cool and neat. But anybody will get dilithium based on the time that they put into the game.
Now, okay, because we were just talking about community involvement and things like that, and I don't know if this has even been a concept yet, but there has been the idea of tipping Foundry authors that players could potentially tip. What about the concept of tipping them in dilithium? Or in some way rewarding Foundry authors?
Then that sort of screws with your time-based thing.
No, it really, I mean, to a certain degree maybe you could consider it that, but those Foundry authors are putting in
tons of time,
dozens or hundreds of hours in the game technically, and aren't
just sitting in the Foundry end.
Won't be earning dilithium from the Foundry end.
That's true. It's true.
So is there anything
that
could potentially incentivize that in any way?
I mentioned before that we don't necessarily want people doing direct trades of dilithium from person to person because it allows us to control the economy out better. And one of the things that the programmers are putting in right now, as a quick aside on this, is a lot of hooks that let us see exactly where money is coming in and going out of the economy, so that we'll be able to fine-tune those dials.
So you get some metrics on how it's being spent.
We'll be like, we know where people are spending their money to buy things and what they're getting money from. Like, we will be able to say, oh, people are getting all their energy credits by farming this mission, taking this mission reward, and selling it. And so that we can adjust things on the fly. Well, so there's the issue that if we do the tip jar in the Foundry, then it essentially becomes a way for you to trade dilithium from someone to someone else.
Right, because you could just make a ghost mission.
But we might be able to do it by allowing you to tip people dilithium ore, because that's still controllable in terms of how much can enter the economy. So if you want to be just a Foundry creator and earn your dilithium by making missions and putting them out there, this is certainly an idea that we're discussing.
I think that's a great idea.
And one of the ways that you can get your dilithium is by doing the daily mission of play Foundry missions. If you do the investigate officer reports, you get dilithium for that too.
And then if you could turn around and give that Foundry author some of the ore, be like, hey, great mission, here's
so that's still
that's still under investigation, but it's certainly something that we've been kicking around. We want to reward people for creating that awesome content that we've been seeing on the Foundry, and that is definitely one of the positive incentives we've been looking for.
I would love to see something like that. Now, just to clarify, because there is some misconception out there regarding dilithium to C-Store. And all C-Store points still have to be purchased, right, by a player.
That's correct.
You can't go directly to the C-Store and say, I have 10 million dilithium, give me C-Store points.
Right. The idea is that there are some players who have a lot of time, and there are some players who have really good jobs, and they have a lot of money, but not a lot of time. And we want those players to be able to trade with each other and say, well, I've got all this dilithium because I have a lot of free time. And someone says, well, I've got a bunch of C points because I've got a lot of free money. Let's trade because I want to use those C points to get a +1 ship. And
so that's the actual exchange mechanism. It's an actual trade between
players. It is an actual trade, just like the exchange that's currently in the game, except this exchange is specifically an auction house for players who have C points can sell them to players who have dilithium. Players who have dilithium get the C points.
So there's like so it's an auction house for C-Store points.
It is essentially an auction house for C-Store points. This is another reason that our dilithium is on a large order of magnitude, so that you can say, well, I'm going to undercut this guy's price and throw in an extra 10 dilithium. And that's not a big deal, but it will create some fluctuation, and we want to allow there to be a large enough window of price opportunities that people can price things depending on how they want. This is, of course, going to be moderated by the fact that dilithium will only come into play at a fairly fixed rate. So if you buy out all the dilithium that's on that store, then you're going to have to wait for more people to grind out more dilithium and put it on the next day, and that can make the prices fluctuate. Now, obviously, everybody wants to get C points, and someone's going to have to buy those C points from Cryptic and put them on the store. And you'd say, why would somebody ever do that? Well, again, you've got sometimes people who have more money than time, and this is an easy way for them to get dilithium out. Also, if you've got points left over from a purchase,
right, or just a monthly stipend if you don't use it that month, right? When they go free to play,
exactly.
There's going to be a stipend.
Once you have the lifetimers and whatnot who are getting stipends, they could turn around and say, well, I already have everything, so I'm going to turn around and put that stipend on the auction house. And if you have a dozen people doing this, and each of them is selling ADC points, then you could go in with your large stack of dilithium and say, I'm going to buy this one, this one, this one, this one, and suddenly I have the 1,200 that I want for a ship or what have you, without spending your own dime.
Right.
Someone else paid for you, essentially. So gold pressed platinum is going to stay as it is, a currency for novelty items, and we hope to get some more novelty items in there so that it's a more useful store. And you will occasionally see that crop up in missions as an optional.
And obviously gold pressed platinum will be what we use when we're betting on poker, right? When that comes out.
Hey now. Nice try. And then energy credits, we're looking at other ways to have sinks for that so that we can get that rampant inflation under control. And we're going to be introducing a few smaller sinks.
Stahl had mentioned a possible sink. What was it?
The flight path.
Flight path. Essentially,
set a route.
That you can, if you have a mission in your new mission journal that says, I need to be at this system, you can spend energy credits to transwarp straight to that location.
That's really cool.
And so that will help to sync some of it, but we are looking at investigating in the long term other possibilities to make that have more robust syncs. For instance, if we were to do something crazy like fleet star bases, and you want to have this awesome social zone in your starbase that you decorate your own way, sure, you can do that, and your fleet pays 500,000 energy credits a week. Or
right. Oh, sure, yeah. Something that's sort of a more
regular, steady sync.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
well, cool. Thanks, Jesse.
You bet. Thank you so much, guys.
Do it. Good.
Always a pleasure chatting with you.
You bet. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.